Thanks. Thank you, Crispin. Thanks very much to the Centre for Management Science, and most importantly, thank you to all of you for giving up the next hour or so to come along this evening and listen to this presentation. I'm going to talk for probably about 30 or 40 minutes, try and protect some time for questions. It was great to meet as many of you as I could just before we got started. I know there's a diverse range of interests that you have around Shazam, around this evening's talk. So we're going to go quite quickly, going to cover a lot of ground, and if there's anything we want to go back on, just let me know at the end. Let me just start by saying that a bit of a facade. Building $1 billion company was really just a way of trying to encourage everybody to come along this evening. That's not how I think about Shazam. It's not how I've spent my career building businesses. I am really fascinated about changing consumer behavior, recognizing that innovation is growing at an exponential rate. We all know that, but more importantly, people's willingness to embrace innovation, people's propensity to actually use innovation is changing far faster, particularly over the last 24, 36 months, than I've ever seen before, and I think a lot of people would share that view. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about 11-year-olds, I'm talking about 17-year-olds. How many of your parents or grandparents now have an iPad or a smartphone, are actually using it as part of their daily lives? And so that creates immense opportunities to help people live better lives. Shazam is about putting a smile on people's faces, but what we're going to talk about today is building global businesses and having a really significant impact. Doing that from the UK, doing that from the Midlands, and actually recognising yourselves that any of us can actually go ahead and do this in the world in which we live today. So, let me get started with a quick overview of Shazam. Just ask a quick question. Does anybody use Shazam? Thanks very much. For those of you who don't use Shazam, why? Just joking, don't answer the question. A little bit about the company. 700 million people. So the great news about Crispin's introduction is this company is growing quite rapidly. So from 525 million, we're about 700 million people now are users of the service. That is in totality. On a monthly basis, it's about 120 million people. On a daily basis, it's about 20 million people. And that's across 200 countries around the world. Our largest market is North America. We have 140 million users in the States, followed by the UK, France, Italy, Germany, and Spain. And in terms of what we do, we'll get onto this, but we do more than just music. We have about 30 million pieces of content in our catalogue, and we sell about $300 million a year in sales. I say that because part of this is talking about data insights, and we have a lot of data points around the business. Now, just to set the scene, most people may think that Shazam's user base is 16 to 24-year-olds, and it was the case before the smartphones that it was a younger demographic, it was a younger customer group that used this particular service, primarily to find out the name of a song or buy the song. But today we have this normal distribution curve which goes from about the age of 11 to just over 65. And that's very important in terms of how we're thinking about opportunities for the business and how we can play a bigger role in your daily life. And a lot of that is anchored on the data insights and how we actually utilize the data. So many of you may be most familiar with Shazam by pressing a button on your phones, it telling you the name of the song, and going on to perhaps buy it in iTunes or listen to it on a streaming service. Actually, this is what the company does today. We're creating a new category, and our mission is to make it as easy as possible for you to engage with either a piece of content that you're interested in or a brand, meaning an advert. We make our money out of the advertising, but the content is about forming a daily habit and how to use Shazam more frequently as part of your daily life. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this as we go through, but on this chart you can see that you can use Shazam, and this is in America. You can use Shazam on any television show in the States, 160 channels, 24/7. You can go to 70% of all the cinemas and Shazam in the cinemas. You can go into retail outlets and Shazam to get offers and promotions when you're in retail stores. There's a lot more than just music, and I'm going to explain why that's important. Let's start with the opportunity. There are 6 billion phones in the world. That's about 3 times the number of fixed line devices, things like computers, MacBooks, etc. So there is a huge opportunity in terms of people having digital devices and how we can make it easier for people to engage with a piece of content or a brand. Our mission is for you to not go to a web browser and type in www when you want to find something that you're interested in, but simply point and click your device or use visual technologies for recognition or voice or other innovative things that make it far easier for you to get to what you're interested in. So when you come into campus at Loughborough University, we don't want you to do anything. We want you just to have your device switched on. We want to curate that experience for you. And when you look at the screen on your device, it will tell you that you're in the design department. This is how you get to your hall of residence. These are the offers in the Students' Union this evening. We know who you are, and that's through our data insight and our customer view. You don't actually have to go to the hall's website, the university's website. You don't have to look on Google Maps. That's the future, and that's happening today. Here's the bad news, though. There's 1.5 million apps on mobile phones. And what's changed over the last few years is that typically people downloaded 8 apps at a time onto their devices. They might open 3 or 4, and they'd populate screen after screen after screen. Over the last 2 or 3 years, people have actually thought, I'm just going to delete everything that's on my phone and just keep a few apps that I'm really, really interested in. So the average user today has 25 apps on their phone, but there's 1.5 million publishers of apps that are competing for that space on your digital device. It's a really tough market. We're going to talk about how we break the market and how you can be successful. From my perspective, the winners are going to be the companies and the publishers who understand their customers the best. And what that means in practice is that I know as much about you as I can, and I can deliver you a very personalized or contextually relevant experience. The contextual part is that I know you're in your home, so I might deliver something through the television or the radio. I know you're out of your home, so it's likely to be through a mobile device. And it's being able to map that customer view and deliver those experiences at the right point in time that's really going to differentiate you. And everybody's mission really is to be a part of your daily life. They want you to spend as much time with them as possible. So the more I know you, the more I can make it relevant to you. Hopefully the more time you're going to spend with me. What are the conditions for success? Well, we think about 3 things that are really important. First of all, what is the user preference? What I think is a great idea may not be what my users want. Let's talk about TV quickly for Shazam. When somebody Shazams a Coca-Cola advert in America, on our database and our customer view, we think that's great. We know this customer's got an affinity to the brand, but hold on a minute. They might have just liked the music in the advert. Doesn't necessarily mean that they like Coca-Cola as a brand. We could get it completely wrong that when you're walking in a supermarket aisle, you walk past a 2-for-1 pack offer for Diet Coke, we send a notification to your phone, there's a 2-for-1 offer on today. You think that's really smart, you think that is really uncool, that's a complete abuse of my trust, it's an abuse of my privacy, I'm going to delete Shazam off this device. We didn't help you at all in living your daily life, we got it fundamentally wrong. It's also important there's a value exchange. Why am I doing this? If I'm going to spend time with a provider like Shazam and I'm going to engage with a TV advert, what happens if I Shazam Coca-Cola? Do I really want an offer? Do I want a voucher? Do I want the voucher for Pizza Express? So I don't have to print it off and have the argument with my wife about who forgot to bring the Pizza Express 2-for-1 offer to the restaurant this evening? Or is it something more than that? And so really thinking about how you reward people for engaging with you is very, very important. And the final point is trust. We're living in a society that is on the precipice of abusing trust. I think you all know that in terms of your frustration with people that get it wrong more often than not. And what does that lead you to do? Ultimately, you might see a sea change in people using mobile apps. You might see people switch off settings on their devices, like notifications, where I'm sending a message to you. And everybody who's on that device, Facebook, Google, Apple, Shazam, suddenly none of us can send a notification to that consumer because one of us got it wrong and all of us suffer. So understanding the implicit trust that we have with people is really, really critical in this new digital age. Shazam creates 1 billion data points every single day. And we view ourselves in this landscape as being one of the smaller players. But we have 1 billion points of data that we have to interpret every single day. What do we do with the data? where we're trying to build personalized, contextually relevant experiences for our users. And one of the hard parts of the world in which we live today is that traditional ways of promoting your company have changed tremendously. So I talk about democratic advocacy. I'm going to pause for a minute and let you just digest those words. Democratic advocacy, what does it actually mean? It means that somebody downloads an app onto their phone and they think it's an amazing experience. It's like, how does this company have the technology that can tell me this piece of music? And people will try it again to see if it works. And then the third time, they'll start to tell their friends about it. I found this service to book restaurants. I found this service to save money in the supermarket before you did. And I think it's a really cool experience. I think it's a really great experience. I've suddenly become an advocate for that app, publisher, or the brand. And as a user, what do I get in return? I get the social currency. I get the badge of honor. I've got the kudos in my social group, in my family, in my work colleagues. I found something before any of you found it, and it's really cool, right? So I look great. I feel great, okay? So I am an advocate, and that's the democratization and the advocacy of new products. And what that means in practice is it's really hard to just go and get a big marketing budget and run a TV advertising campaign to tell everyone that this company is wonderful, you should download their app. It's really hard to use traditional forms of recruiting people into your services. And so when you've got 1 billion data points, you've got a slightly unfair advantage where you can actually start to interpret that and think about how do we get pinpoint accuracy at a very personalized level in order to build experiences that people want to talk about. They want to talk about it to their friends, and we get this democratization. And what it means to us as a business, as you'll see on this graph, this is not a cumulative graph, this is the number of interactions per month and how it's grown over the years, is that every month we recruit about 17 million new people to Shazam as users of the service. And we spend very, very little money on marketing doing that. It's primarily through word of mouth because we work very hard on building a great product. A couple of ways in which we measure success. These are the top apps in the world. We're the only UK company, we're the only European company in this list. We're really proud of that. But actually what we're prouder of is this. This is user reviews. If you compare Shazam to Facebook, Pinterest, these other big apps in the world, what users think, they rate us the highest app in the world, okay, across all the charts. It doesn't always stay like this. We get it wrong, we drop down, we have to go back again. But we're really proud of that, and that's the thing that motivates and inspires our team, is how can we build a better and better experience for our users. So for those of you who aren't Shazam users, let me just start at the very beginning. This is what you see when you use Shazam. This is the music experience. Here, the red circles are how we make money. So you Shazam a song, you can buy it on iTunes, you can play it in Spotify or your streaming service, you can buy tickets for that artist to a service. How do we use data? We use data in many, many different aspects of the business. This is just through the product teams. This is A/B testing. So here are 2 treatments for how we'd like to encourage people to sign up and give us an email address. Very different, you can see. One's a very small treatment, the other one takes over the full page. And what we'll do here is in real time, we can deploy this either in different markets. So one can be in Canada, one can be in the UK. Within the first minute, we'll get an insight. We back this up with our view into social networks. So we're looking at the social sphere in terms of what are people saying online about the new Shazam interface. We can actually, this is server configurated. So what it means is we can actually switch this over within 5 minutes. So we've done a global deployment. We've looked at our customer behavior on our servers, and we said, this is the winner. We're going to basically get rid of this, and suddenly that's gone out across the whole world, and it's within 5 minutes of launch. Right? So that is the real-time data feed and the signal that we're getting that informs how we actually create the experience for people. We also look at our strengths. So our heritage is in music, and we just recently launched a new feature on Shazam where artists publish their own Shazam tags. So this is what these artists are actually Shazamming themselves. And they're authenticated, so they are the legitimate artists. If you look at our followers for these artists compared to Facebook and Twitter, you'll see that in a lot of cases, they actually have more followers on Shazam than they have on other services. And we use that as a viral play. So the more they publish, the more reasons people have to come into Shazam, the more people that are in Shazam, the more motivation the artists have to publish. and we're looking at how we actually extend this into other categories. In terms of data, so what do we give back to people? So this is an example around music, and the group here is The Weeknd. So what you can see here is that we can help this artist understand who their fans are, where their fans are, what songs they like, etc. And if you just take a territory, what happens is that this artist can actually see, where is my fan base developing? When I'm planning my tour, which cities am I going to go to and which cities can I forget? So this is a very creative industry, and yet you've got the creator, the artists themselves, actually starting to look at data and analytics as part of how they build their fan base, their audience, and their careers. The music is great. It's a $15 billion addressable market opportunity worldwide. And for those of you who are interested in the story behind Shazam and building businesses, one of the things I think the team has done particularly well is stay focused. And that worked for a number of years, and we had to work really hard to just keep focused on the music experience. That helped us build a mass audience around the world. And then it enabled us to start asking the question, what else can we do with the company? And one very obvious thought that we had 6 years before we even launched it in the market was, can't we use this audio recognition technology for people to Shazam an advert and then engage with the advert? Why does it just have to be music? And when you look at the addressable market for television advertising, it's $300 billion worldwide compared to $15 billion for music. So in 2010, we launched at the Super Bowl in America. An advert at the Super Bowl cost $4 million for 60 seconds, and we asked people to put the Shazam logo in the adverts. By 2 years later, we had 1/3 of all the adverts at the Super Bowl, which is the world's biggest media event. It's 110 million viewers in the States. 1/3 of all the television adverts at the Super Bowl were Shazam enabled, and I'm going to show you an experience around that. This is a case study for Red Bull. It won a big industry award in the advertising industry. Red Bull and the broadcaster NBC were our clients, and this talks a little bit about the social treatment of this campaign and what Shazam has done to expand beyond music.
Conceived by the athletes themselves and brought to life by a partnership between Red Bull Media House and NBC, the Red Bull Signature Series places the planet's most fearless athletes center stage in a TV series that covers over 20 of the most progressive and innovative competitions all over the globe. Red Bull Supernatural is one of the flagship shows for the series, a one-of-a-kind snowboarding competition between some of the world's best snowboarders. We wanted to create a special second screen experience that would help translate the awesomeness of the event through the eyes of an athlete to the consumer. By working with Shazam, creators of the world's leading media discovery app, a plan was made to create a rich content experience that complemented the action on TV as it unfolded. Using Shazam, there were 4 opportunities during the show for fans to access point-of-view footage on their mobile device from the eyes of 4 of the world's best riders descending down the mountain. You could Shazam with your device to watch that rider's first-person perspective at the same time as the action on the television. Each video was individually unlocked as the show progressed. By Shazam enabling Supernatural, fans experienced and shared dream runs from the best mountain shredders in the world. To explain the proposition and help spread the word, consumers were able to Shazam Supernatural web teasers in the lead up to the show. To help drive home the virality, social tools allowed fans to brag to their friends about their unique experience during the show. The results were astounding. 81% watched the POV clip to the end. And so, Red Bull Media House, with the help of Shazam, were able to bring the best of snowboarding to a national TV audience on 2 screens at the same time.
So that's, in case you're wondering, why would I Shazam TV? So that's an example. Here's another example. This is American Idol. We also do voting on X Factor in the States, so you don't have to remember the telephone number, you don't have to remember the SMS number. But here's the thing about data, right? People are fascinated by data, so I like this example because Candice Glover has just performed on American Idol in the States. She's been Shazammed. And what is the value exchange? What do I get back as a user? Well, guess what? I can see who's trending during the show, who's being Shazammed the most, and who's likely to get voted off. So before we get to the Sunday evening show, I already know, mid-show on a Saturday evening, who's likely to get voted off the X Factor. right? And that motivates me to want to watch the show, which helps the broadcaster. And it also gives me, again, some social currency because I know things that my friends don't know. And I get to use Shazam as well, which is obviously our objective. But here's what's in it for the broadcaster. There's a couple of things. Data. You know, we are very fortunate. 65% of our users give us location down to zip code or postcode level in the States. We do not share that down to that level with any of our partners. But what we do enable is we enable our partners to go into street level so they can actually see the audience. Who's actually watching this show at any point in time? Who's interested in Candice Glover? If she wins the show, where's she going to go on tour in the States? Where am I going to put my advertising? I can go down to Fifth Avenue in New York and I can see that people are Shazamming this particular genre of music. It's rap, it's hip hop, therefore my advertising on the bus shelter is only going to be around 50 Cent or whoever. This is really helping to create a new paradigm for the advertisers, and it's all very, very data-driven. There's another thing we do though, which is retargeting. So we know that you're interested in cooking shows. We know that you've Shazammed MasterChef or you've watched MasterChef. Guess what? Gordon Ramsay's got a new season of Hell's Kitchen coming on Fox. So what do? Well, we have two treatments. These two screens here are for anybody who has watched a cooking show or Shazammed a cooking show in the States. Okay? But here, we're sending a notification. This is quite intrusive potentially, but it could be really great value add because I'm a huge fan of Hell's Kitchen. I didn't even know there was a new season starting at 7 o'clock tonight. And I'm going to get a notification at 5 o'clock in the evening saying there's a new season of MasterChef, there's a new season of Hell's Kitchen. I didn't know. That's real value add for me, not so much for people who aren't fans of the show. So the only people who are going to get the notification are people who Shazam the previous season of MasterChef or Hell's Kitchen. Okay? They would not, no one else who Shazam cooking shows is going to see this treatment. We believe that shows that you're a big fan, and our research would confirm that as well. That's all about the customer view, understanding what your tastes and preferences are and how we use data in the business. And finally, on this piece in terms of analytics and insight, the point I would make here is in Shazam, we recently started to bring data scientists into our organization, but not in our technology organization, actually into the sales teams. So we had a recent graduate, 2 years graduated, second job, who sent an email out to the company saying, I'm delighted to join Shazam. I'm a data scientist. I've been working actually for the National Institute of Econometrics. And I'm really fascinated to come and work in Shazam where I can bring data to commerciality. And that role specifically is to support the sales teams. How do our teams sell? Our teams sell on data. So you run a campaign with us on TV, and what we need to go and show you is, based on your objectives for your TV advertising, was it just awareness? Was it a call to action? Was it brand recall? We want to be able to demonstrate to you that by Shazam enabling your advert, you've actually exceeded the objectives that you set for yourself with the campaign. And so we are living in a very, very data-driven and very pervasive data world. And there's many facets, but the most interesting thing is that Sophie, who's our data analyst, is sitting with the sales teams. She's not sitting in our IT department. She's actually sitting out there in a customer-facing role. So just to finish off before we get to questions, just 3 quick slides. Where is all the future going? So I'm very big on the world changing from what I describe as a pull to a push environment. So what does pull mean? Pull means going to a web browser, typing in your search term or typing in the URL, and you determining what you want by way of information. I've had to initiate that interaction. I've had to press the Shazam button. As companies who win your trust, understand more about you as an individual and can personalize that experience for you, and the more value you see in that, you no longer are going to have to initiate the interaction. They are going to curate experiences for you, just like the one I said at the beginning, where I really trust Loughborough University to be part of my everyday life. So I'm happy to walk around campus and for them to deliver relevant information to the screen of my device. I don't see that being intrusive. I see that being really, really valuable. I haven't had to do anything. I haven't had to do any work. I'm just receiving the information, and that's because they understand who I am. So a push environment is where the world is leading to, but there's many pitfalls, as we've talked about, in terms of abusing your trust, people feeling that these companies have just got it wrong, I'm going to turn them off. Auto Shazam is a feature where Shazam just runs in the background. You don't have to do anything. You can put Shazam in your pocket, you can go to a nightclub, you can get the whole set list from the Students' Union tonight. You can go back tomorrow and you can listen to it through your streaming account. You haven't had to press the button. You've just left your phone in your pocket or your handbag. It works. The microphone works through denim. You can put it on a coffee table whilst you're watching television. I can watch Downton Abbey. I can watch Top Gear. I can watch any of these shows. Just enjoy watching TV. But guess what? There's a God of War advert that I am kind of interested in, bizarrely, for me. But I am, and I love that brand. And therefore, at the end of Downton Abbey, I'm going to go and watch the trailer. I'm going to go and buy the video game. I didn't have to do anything. It's helping me get to what I want in a much easier way. Second thing is beaconing technology. Still emerging. There's not a single uniform standard. Beacons are what we provide as stickers that a shop owner can put on their shop window. It's a very, very small economic outlay. It's just a sticker, and it has a beacon embedded within the Shazam logo. Suddenly, the whole of my retail store becomes Shazam-enabled. Why is that important? Because unless you buy something in my store, I have no idea who you are as a customer. If you come into my store and I say to you, if you Shazam this morning, I'll give you a 25% discount, then we can enable that and people can just walk into the store and see the relevant offers for them. 25% off a pair of jeans, 25% off a handbag, 25% off a pair of trainers. Why is that important? Because in redeeming that offer or promotion, I'm probably going to have to give the retailer my email address. And at that point in time, the retailer can begin their relationship with you. And even if you don't buy anything that day, they've still started the relationship, which is highly valuable, which motivates them to give you a value proposition and a fair value exchange. So beacons, we think, are going to be really, really important over the next few years. And finally, wearables. So for most of you, you may or may have not decided to buy a wearable. Our view is that it's fantastic. We think it will be one of the big sellers over Christmas because it's a personal statement. It's about you as an individual. If you bought your smartphone, you've got your jewelry, you've got only so many ways you can express yourself as an individual. A wearable will be another way of doing that. So we do see a big market for wearables. But up until recently, they've had to be tethered to the phone, which is an imperfect experience. And so as they become unique, you don't have to have a running watch. It's got GPS built into the wearable. Everything is self-sufficient. You can check your emails. You can see your notifications. You don't have to have your phone with you. Then the market is likely to explode. And that's a very, very personal interaction. Up until the point that we will see people for preventative medicine, for medical reasons, more and more people will have medical implants. They'll put a chip underneath their skin. That chip is going to send all the data to a medical establishment. It could be one of the centres here at Loughborough, and you're going to be able to check your diagnosis on your wearable device, and it's going to tell you, you need to go and see a doctor, you need to go and see a doctor extremely quickly. You're likely to have some catastrophic event. That is going to be a big motivating factor. That is highly personalised. That is the extreme of your personal data being inside your body, giving every data point around how you function, but it's going to help you live your daily life and live a better daily life. And that is where we truly believe the world is going to go. So, on that note, I'm going to finish. Just in summary, so Shazam's got a great audience, very large audience. There's 6 billion people in the world. The way I think about it, 20 million people will use Shazam. There's 6 billion people that could use Shazam today. We are at the very, very beginning of our journey. We have so much work to do. There is so much for us to accomplish as a business. We have a lot of data insights from which to succeed and get it right, but there are many pitfalls along the way, and there's plenty of opportunity to get it wrong. And one of the things I remind the teams about is the consequences of getting it wrong. So we need to be cautious, and we always need to think about our users first and foremost. We are in a world which changes by the minute, so we're making decisions very, very rapidly. It's minutes and hours, it's not days and weeks, and it's all about personalization and contextually relevant content. And ultimately, all of this is anchored on trust. And one of the great things about Shazam, when I meet people, there are 2 categories. One category keeps me very grounded. I'll be in an airport somewhere in the world, and I'll talk about Shazam, and no one's heard of the service, and I have to explain it to them. And I realise I've got so much work to do. We've all got so much work to do. And the other part of it is people that do use Shazam, and nearly all the time that people use Shazam, they say that they're a Shazam user with a smile on their face. And that doesn't get any better in terms of working in a company that's putting a smile on people's faces, and that's what we're really proud of, and that's what we want to protect. as we think about how big this business could be in the future. So thank you very much. I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for your attention. We've got some time for questions if anyone would like to get started.